Yeah, right.
They're doing okay. And
And the kids have been going to
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
for a while.
they were not. Remote learning was very bad. Coleman went from A's and B's to D's and F's. It was so bad. It was so bad. I'm very glad that they did.
So they did it with like our friend, like it is what it is. Our friend,
It's tough for these kids.
but we don't know. She wants.
Well, I have to say hi to my cousins who I haven't seen in like,
Yeah. I don't have it. Unless there's something with my husband. Nothing cooking enough. I know. There's a
Doctors go.
how is everyone feeling? You look like teenagers.
Oh my God.
This doctor's going to so mom will see the doctor.
We're sitting there eating dinner and he's starting to see blockage.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I think I got a lump, check it out.
Yeah. Or is it just? Yeah. Do they have it together? Well, that's good. So he's good for the one. It'll keep you turning around.
How long has this been? Bothering you next week.
All years, all the calls that go to afterward.
I got my phone set.
As long as he's happy, it's
This
a regular conference.
is really emergency call. Go to the emergency room. Not call Alex.
Yeah, I don't think I would do well.
My number is that, his kids, his oldest Calvin, and his 16. She was like, this is great, sign me up, I'll do this next year. She's like,
Is it reproducing?
So I'm actually now in practice, so I'm working in health customer.
Best medicine.
How are you?
That's right.
Are you going around now or? Sunday.
Early in my training.
It's morning afternoon. You were lousy.
Besides this.
I found no, I found this
Yeah, that's Jeff.
Not in school.
I forgot I talked to you. The hayfield was there, they did the shot, the hayfield was there, came back.
At work,
So, it's like a presentation. And you're,
I only have 1 day off a week, like this.
and I'm just, I'm just seeing that, I'm seeing the life. Yes, it's your registry. Can't, I can't do it 20 feet. I can ride a bicycle.
Well, there's Jamie Lyon. Our patients was just, he was in the middle of it.
It's like a valve. And I don't think you know, it's like a turnstile.
Yeah.
It makes, except for the initial. No, but there's totally the opposite. Don't worry about
There's 8 people.
Oh, streaming it, huh?
How do you see who's streaming?
I don't know, but let's not fuss with it.
Just $500. Unless the.
What's your face?
I missed the, getting the, well, I got the, in November. So I got Canada. So this Canada, my first year.
So this is the
Yeah. There's 8. We got 8 viewers. I'm trying to figure out who the 8. Trying to figure out who the 8 viewers are.
Doug. Oh.
Before I forget, your birthday buddy told me to say hi, and then he was just chatting with me.
And I go, Dad thinks it's gonna go viral. I go, Dad, it's just gonna be Ellie one.
something needs to
There's 8
happen.
people on there.
Yeah, he's
See.
What, something
Oh,
needs
can
to,
you see who it is?
That's what I want.
something needs to happen to make it go viral. I can't
No,
just-
Dad said,
What are we gonna do?
the entertainment factor here, and he goes, and then the Shiva, it'll be crap. And I go, you gotta call it like 1,000-pound Shiva, like, you know, because all the food.
Yeah.
I go, people like add stuff, so you gotta like bring it in somehow.
There you go.
Oh,
Danielle, you're on YouTube.
she's a star. You can comment. Who's that hot chick? It doesn't. It just shows like so many views. It doesn't-
Yeah. Well, it shows on this. Like,
Why is?
you can see here it says 8.
Yeah. Oh, Ellie is so annoying. Ellie can hear everything.
well, the demand is kind of insane right now.
We're trying to figure it out. That's my hand. Yeah. The rabbi is late. Yeah, but
I'm right near Buffalo Grove Road and
So if I were to go like when I was going yesterday to Hobbies, I would absolutely like ride
I'm in Arlington Heights, but I'm right at the corner of Buffalo Grove Road and
okay. Better.
Hi, Al. Ellie can see and hear us.
Ellie can see us and hear us.
you can see her back.
Yeah.
right now. Okay.
So is it recording?
Yes, Ellie just called and said she could hear all of
Probably
us.
be watching it and be like, this is boring.
Yeah, change it.
Change what?
Oh, should
do
you do a
something, do
pre-entertainment
something.
show? Like Aaron Andrews.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Yeah. Do something.
Karaoke.
Dan.
Go.
Yeah.
No, like
Exactly.
report. Like,
We're up
and
to 8.
are
We got 8
here.
viewers right now.
The Today Show doesn't bumble around. They just cut to another.
Yeah, exactly. Just right to the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
over to
there's,
karaoke.
she should be like a reporter. Like, and
So
we are delayed on the.
Right.
We're late.
Somebody
for
should
the
get
rabbi or
an update.
Like, I don't know why I keep getting hot, cold, hot, cold.
It's like 50 degrees and it's freezing.
Yeah, but then it's like I got hot there. Maybe I'm nervous.
It's like my face is sweating. Oh, this is a
Yeah, Danielle's like silk. Here, do
Ellie said she could hear.
you know who Igor?
That's Ellie.
Yeah, see? Here, go into the
That's
camera.
Ellie's YouTube name.
Is it
Go into the camera.
so who are the viewers?
Igor?
Is Ellie's YouTube name Igor Casanova?
Igor.
Yeah.
Weird. That's so weird. I don't like it.
You're being very indecisive, which is.
It just opens presents on YouTube.
Yeah. No, the toy places send them toys.
Quite expecting anyone else. Slit, right?
Just a rabbi.
I mean, if you're literally the last one here, you're not doing your job.
Well, all I know is if we lower our views, it's because
No, we just went out for till 11.
We should make like some story up about
Let
the
them know.
rabbi.
Say the rabbi is
Rabbi.
late.
reporter, you're wearing the outfit.
The rabbi is late.
We're
We
here
will get
at the
started as soon as
mausoleum,
we can.
waiting on the rabbi.
This
rabbi
here,
is-
this
Fox
Inside, yeah.
Chicago.
this just in. The rabbi is.
Another
And
day,
coming-
yeah.
The rabbi is
And what was that? Okay, this was it.
Biden hired
The
some
rabbi's
contractors. The other news is that Biden hired.
But maybe they think something's wrong and that's why they're getting more views.
12.
And that's gonna make $9 million making toys. There we go.
Exactly. I might have a new career.
I just wish you could see who.
Yeah, I'm surprised
I
you
want to
can't.
call my siblings out for which ones attended and which didn't.
Sign in.
No, I don't think you can. Well, do you have a YouTube channel? I know, I'm kind of anti-YouTube signing. Like, yes?
Why is it only showing me?
Well, it's Laura and Sarah. I don't know, but we're getting more views by waiting.
I don't know if it's by waiting. Oh,
Do say, this just in, the rabbi is running late.
you did.
That's crazy. This is fascinating.
Yeah, that Ellie, she's really annoying.
Here, let me figure this out.
Ellie.
Yeah, pretend COVID. Just heard you.
Way too.
Ask Ellie if she could see who the views are on
Can you
her
see who
end.
the views are? No, on the other people. Can you see what the other people are viewing? No.
Oh, now we only have 11.
We're losing 13.
Like the mom plus the kid therapy, it was the other way around. She had years of therapy.
We're losing numbers. He doesn't know where the camera went. What'd you do?
I flipped it.
You
Just
did?
show that. Yeah, then I flipped
Oh,
it
this
back.
is intermission.
Yeah.
And this is during intermission.
And we're back.
Yeah, you can only look at Ellie's like, all I see is Alex's back.
There's gotta be a way to view.
No, you flipped it.
Recording live. Also,
Yeah, this just in, the rabbi is running late.
we are currently waiting on the rabbi who is drunk at the bar.
Alex, stop saying that.
The rabbis,
Oh my God.
rabbis hung out.
I just heard it.
I don't know. Now 12, we're losing people.
Is it Dave? Is David in there? I think it's. Well, I think I'm hoping it's. I'm picturing it's Carrie. I know Carrie was gonna try to jump on, and maybe Danielle, Carrie, Danielle, Daisy, yeah, Igor, Cass.
Elliot.
It's far too. It's way too far.
All right, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. I'm gonna step away from the YouTube camera. This is
The microphone.
Alright, bye.
Wait, I didn't even see
I know.
I just noticed that.
I know.
What did you do?
I don't like that.
Imagine when.
Who is it? Oh, they're coming?
I didn't know they were coming.
They only come for funerals.
Dad's
Dad said they left.
they what?
This in.
It's just it.
Don't live in Don't leave the house.
Breaking news.
Yeah,
Ellie can hear. Ellie can hear everything. I can hear everything.
yes.
Alex flipped it, so it's like intermission.
Wait, quickly, I was like, is that good?
I didn't know we were left.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Listen to your mom. I mean, no offense to anyone else, but it's just
Yeah. No, I know, but it's other people who want to be here, you know.
well, right. No, I'm saying for our
Yeah.
for like Pop, I doubt he knows. He tried calling Shirley Wolf, remember her? He wrote the number down. So I googled it.
Yeah.
He was amazing. How did you find him?
Oh, he probably was, yeah. Yeah.
She's an awesome, really good blood infection.
What about
But maybe she'll want to go. Oh, he's died.
Oh, he did?
Grandma's good friend in California.
Oh,
She's still alive. But she's like 310. I know. Well, you would have to drive over there. Yeah, it's just the other building. It may take 2 seconds. Becky can show you.
take my keys.
You can take ours or Becky. Becky can run there. She doesn't bet. Well, it's like I did. And then just like you turned around and went up there. It's like sweet. Now you have that like.
Still? I thought you were. No, I had basic. I mean, I want to go when it's anywhere.
And if not, that's okay too.
But I saw the wedding pictures, they were beautiful, Mazel tov. I saw the beautiful wedding photos. For, you're not, at least I have not gotten to the age where I actually think, okay, I need to really pay attention, take care, mask, get all the boosters, all, that's what I do. Purell is making a lot no, I didn't.
I'll just sit there.
So here's what's on the agenda. Excuse me. So this, head over to the two, and then the rabbi comes to the service, this is great. The other thing. Because he said he's not.
Let's get started. Yes, let's go.
Yes, sir. It's okay. So can you just step over? I'm gonna say we're gonna start our service.
If I could have your attention, please. If I could ask everyone to please be seated. Unfortunately, Rabbi Zeldin was unavoidably detained, so he's running a little behind. But what we're going to do is invite some of the family members up to share a few thoughts and words. And that's how we'll begin. When Rabbi arrives, then we'll have him certainly come up and start the formal part of our service. So I will ask that everyone please take a moment to make sure your cell phones are turned to their silent mode. And at this time, we're going to invite family members to come up and share their thoughts.
I don't think I really need the microphone, but it's broadcasting. I'm Becky, and Mark's third daughter. So I'm gonna say a few things about our grandma. It's coming from myself, Sammy, and Ellie. Well, I'm gonna start with her traits. I'm gonna take the mask off. Number one trait that Sammy wrote about her was that she was a worrier. She was caring, she was loving, she was giving and generous, she was nice, and she was honest. Sammy had to make sure she mentioned that she appreciated her love of television, that she couldn't forget going to visit her and Poppy in San Diego, going over to visit and Sunday brunches, and that Grandma always had to make sure she not only had the most comfortable couch, but that we always made sure it was round tables for Grandma, because Grandma did not like rectangle tables at all. All out of love, we would hear Grandma give us lectures over whatever it may be. And I don't know if this was Sammy or Ellie that typed it, but one of them said when they got engaged, Grandma needed this stamp of approval for the ring. That was Sammy. Ellie says, she spoke the truth, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. We knew what she was thinking. She showered family and friends with her love by feeding us all the time. She always had snacks, spreads, or candy ready to go. She loved her San Diego house, and a lot of visions I have of her being healthy and happy was in that home. She would take us to Disney and the zoo, and she would take us to visit her friends that lived there. She loved shopping. As our mother always says, TJ Maxx didn't know what happened when she stopped shopping. She had so many fun stuff to go through as a little kid, like her costume jewelry or her real jewelry, tons of shoes. And Poppy and her would bicker all the time. We will never forget her screaming Jack and him going Rose. They always thought that their side was the correct way to do something, so that led to a lot of yelling. But we all knew that they loved each other so much and that this was their way of communicating, and it worked for the most part. She made the most amazing chicken noodle soup and gefilte fish. She would never tell the family all the recipes in the soup. Her secret recipe. So Grandma, you're going to the wall with your secret recipe. She never could decide what to order at a restaurant because everything sounded so good to her. And she would finally order, get that food and either send it back or look at the table and pick someone else's food to eat. Never, ever happy with what she ordered. She was a unique and amazing person. She had tons of great stories about her past, all the times and changes she had lived through. My favorite is still how her and Poppy met on North Beach. Love at first sight. And then Poppy went to war and they wrote each other all the time. And in one letter, I believe Grandma finally told them that she was 14 years old. Ha ha. There's no one like her and she'll be missed, but talked about all the time, which I know she would love. The one memory that I really have of Grandma was when I was in the hospital when I was 17, Poppy came to visit and told me that Grandma was unable to come. And now I look back and I realize, as a mother myself, that seeing a child with things all in their noses and their arms, it's very hard to see. And to this day, Grandma has never come to a hospital. But Poppy came, and he came with a pillow. I'm 17 and I'm going, a pillow? A used pillow? Where was the stuffed animal? Where was all the fun things that I wanted? I had enough pillows in the hospital, and I took this off-white pillow and I think I put it to the side. And Poppy said, it's for you to be comfortable. And I never used that pillow in the hospital, but that pillow was used every day when I got out because it was the perfect fit to cover my stitches and still enjoy being in the car seat with a seatbelt. Little did I know, Poppy, that that pillow would have been used the way it was. It made me enjoy life, so thank you, Grandma. In the end, I know I've got two other cousins who loved Grandma too, and they're gonna say a few more words.
It's the little things that seem to stand out the most. Her words of endearment that she would use when addressing us. Shayna put 'em.
Shayna topped it up.
The traditional happy birthday voicemails.
Or the smile she would get when her loved ones walked through the door. I'm sure everyone here has stories much like ours. Many of our fond memories happen around the table, with good food and even better company. Whether it was our Sunday brunches at the home in Glenview or Chinese restaurants in San Diego, when the family was together and sharing a meal, Grammy was at her happiest.
Rewind approximately 17 years. Grammy, Poppy, and their 5 grandchildren patiently awaiting a table at Plain Jumper. 10, 20, now 45 minutes have passed, and our patience is dwindling as our stomachs growl louder. We finally get seated, and at the end of our large meal, our waiter kindly states that due to the long wait, dessert is on the house. This was music to our ears. Anybody who knows the Tobias family knows that we love sweets. Of course, we could not agree on just one dessert, so we settled on one of everything. Needless to say, we cleaned our plates. This did not slip past our waiter. He looked at us with a straight face and asked if we would like a wheelbarrow to roll us out. In disbelief, we looked around the table and burst into laughter. This memory remains one of my favorites. There's nothing like sharing a dessert with Grammy. I'm so thankful that she was able to participate in mine and Alex's wedding by sampling our cakes. We couldn't make this crucial decision without the input of our family's biggest dessert lover and tough critic. Her opinion mattered so much to me, and I'm forever grateful that she not only approved of Alex as my life partner, but also loved him like one of her own.
Silent strength and commitment to those she loved was another quality that set our grandma apart. Whether it was waiting for Poppy to come home from war, or marching into New Trier demanding our dad, her son David, need not be put on the vocational track, but continue on the collegiate path. Grammy was steadfast in her dedication to those most important to her. You could always feel the authenticity in her voice when she asked us about her school or our jobs. These conversations could last hours, as we talked and she listened with the kindest heart, while we shared the highs and the lows of our commitment to our passions. Her never-ending support on my journey to medical school is what got me through the long process, and I'll be forever grateful she saw me succeed.
Alongside her love for us, there's an undercurrent of the ongoing joke that she kept a running list of favorite grandchildren. Alex has long held the position of number one, but that doesn't mean there wasn't room for the rest of us to sneak up in the ranks. The granddaughters were always competing to snag that number 2 spots. But in reality, we know that she loved and appreciated each of us equally for all our unique strengths. While this dedication is mostly focused on Grammy, we can't forget about the most important person in her life. Our Poppy. Their love ran deep, so full of adoration and respect. While they met early in life, their commitment to each other never wavered and is still going strong to this day. Throughout their decades together, they both were able to step up and support one another regardless of circumstances. Grammy was the rock for the family, while Poppy worked so hard to provide for everyone, always making sure that whatever needed to get done was taken care of. As they grew in love together over time, their roles seemed to naturally reverse. As Grammy's health declined, Poppy stepped right in to make sure that she was always being doted on. We know that Grammy leaving this earth is a tremendous loss for all of us, but most notably for our Poppy. Poppy, we love you so much and will always be here to support you and keep her spirit alive.
These last 6 months, working as a physician, have opened my eyes to the fragility of life in ways I hadn't experienced before. For the first time, bearing witness to the unflattering reality of death in a hospital. Thankfully, our Grammy did not have to go through that process. She was committed to leaving the earth on her own terms, with total grace and dignity. Maybe it was her stubbornness, or maybe it was her love of Poppy's home-cooked meals, but she was determined to pass in the comfort of her own home, surrounded by the ones she loved most, by her rock and her husband of over 70 years, and the rest of her family by her side all the way to the very end.
She outlived any expectation someone could have for a grandparent. Although our Grammy may no longer be physically present, we are comforted by the incredible amount of loving memories and stories which will live on forever in all of us.
Everyone's beautiful words. I want them bring time to listen. So they say when rain pours down during a funeral, that it's God crying with us. I don't think that your Grammy had planned on it changing to snow. And certainly the hour and a half that it took me longer than it would have to get here today wasn't planned either, but I will tell you that there's no place I'd rather travel through a blizzard and past accidents than to be with this tremendous family. And it's such a tremendous family because the patriarch and matriarch of this family have raised their children, who've raised the grandchildren, to be not only a loving, close family, but tremendous human beings. And that legacy that they've passed down the door by door from generation to generation will live on within each of you as you have been taught and has been demonstrated for you throughout your lives. I'm going to start first now with the 23rd Psalm. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai Roi Lo Echsar Bino Steshi Yaritzeni Al Meivenu Choshen Haleni Nafshi Yeshovev Yancheni B'Maglei Tzedek L'Ma'an Shemo Gam Ki Elech Pegeit Tzon Laves Lo Irara Ki Ata Imadi Shivtecha Mishamtecha Hemi Enachamuni Ta'aroch Lefanai Shulchan Neged Zorarai Dishanta Vashem Roshi Kosi Rivaya Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veis Adonai li'orech yamim. If you'd like to join me in the translation, on the inside cover of your folders is the 23rd Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Continue now with Psalm 121. Shir lamalos es ha'enai el ha'hari me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz al yutein lamod raglecha yanu shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yaminecha. Yom ha'mashem shiakecha v'yarech b'layl Adonai shmorcha mikorei shmars nafshecha. Adonai shmor tzeis kovoecha mi'atav ya'avalon. I lift mine eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? The source of my help is the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. He will not let you falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Surely the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. He is at your right hand to protect you. The Lord your keeper gives shelter. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. The Lord will preserve your soul. He will guard your going and coming from this time forth and forevermore. Dear friends and family, we all come together today to say goodbye and pay our final respects to a tremendous woman, a tremendous person, Rose Tobias of blessed memory, who's going to return home. We pray that God will remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living, and that her soul will be bound up in the bond of eternal life. I want to extend my most sincere sympathy to this family who I'm so fond of for so many years. First of all, to Jack. Words can't extend to you how my personal sympathy is to you, but you were a tremendous caretaker, a tremendous husband, a tremendous best friend to this wonderful woman. And I know she's looking down saying, Jack, stay healthy for many years and be there for your family, because I'm not going anywhere, I'm waiting for you. And I know she means it. I've had the great privilege of knowing this family for over 35 years and having the second connection of Marcia, who I've known for 50 years, almost 45 years about, being part of this family. To Mark and Marcia, to Dr. Jeffrey and Andrea, to David and Jill, we wish you all should find comfort in knowing that your mother is receiving the reward due to the faithful. To the grandchildren, 3 of which who I've known since they were young girls, to Samantha and Andrew, Eloise and Dave, Rebecca and Alex, Danielle and Alex, and to the great-grandchildren, Olivia, Charlie, and Miles. take those traditions and take those values and live by them, and she will live on because of you into the next generation. And we pray that one day a namesake will be born to carry on her good name. So it's traditional that family give eulogies at the loss of a loved one, and that has been done. It's traditional the rabbis summarize a little bit about our loved one's life as we say goodbye. We do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, we believe and we know that Rose's neshama is with us right now in this room. We want her to hear just a little bit about how much she was loved and admired. Number two, maybe some people who aren't in the immediate family who are online with us today, who couldn't be here with us in person, will find out something about this wonderful woman they didn't know. And number three, and most importantly, God is with us. And even though God knows everything, we want to bring some of those attributes to the forefront. As she is now a little bit closer with him, receiving the reward due to the faithful, reunited with her late parents of blessed memory, her late grandparents, and all those who've gone before her. Razel Bas Simcha was born on July 20th of 1925 in Chicago, with us in this world for a short 94 years. Can I not? Her yard site will always be observed on Purim Day. Purim night is when we light the candle, except during a leap year, on the 14th of Adar 1, not the 14th of Adar 2, when we observe Purim this year. But every other year it will be Purim. Grew up on the near north side in Humboldt Park. Went to Tule High School. I was sharing with the family yesterday. My grandmother grew up in Humboldt Park and went to Tule High School. Famous high school too. Right? So I understand that Rose and Jack met at North Avenue Beach. I know from my grandmother, when I interviewed her on her 100th birthday, that the bus went straight from Humboldt Park to North Avenue Beach. And at one time it was the streetcar. And so it was easy to get to from where she lived. And that was a place where a lot of people met because it was easy to get there. And Rose was a legend, and she met another legend. And together they built a legendary family. They were married on October 19th and shared 73 years together of marriage. I'm not sure how many people in the whole world can say that. And not only 73 years, 73 loving years of marriage. When they were married, he told me they were living on Winthrop Avenue in Chicago, and of course moved to Skokie, and then Wilmette, and then settled between their San Diego home and their Glenview home. Members of Am Yisrael congregation, but when the boys were growing up, members of Skokie Valley with Rabbi Cantor, Alav Shalom, and Jack and Rose have always been lifetime members of the Loop Synagogue as well. Supporters of many charities, JUF, City of Hope, Karen Fund Cancer Society, as well as supporting many, many other tzedakahs. She loved to paint, she loved to cook, she loved to decorate. She knew New Age before there was New Age. She was a sensitive person, driven, loyal, perfectionist, intelligent, creative, always dependable. And here's my favorite quote from Rose. She claimed she hit the Jewish trifecta. and raised a doctor, a lawyer, and a CPA. And, I'm not sure how many other Jewish mothers can say that either. She had a lot of nachas from her children and grandchildren, a lot of nachas. And it carried on for 94 years. So, we talk about Bashirt. She had met her Bashirt on North Avenue Beach, built a beautiful family, 3 sons who were all became a mensch and a professional and made her proud. Beautiful grandchildren, beautiful great-grandchildren, all to make her proud. And she left this world proud. So there's a beautiful story I once heard from my rabbi growing up, Rabbi Karzen, who lives in Jerusalem now. And that is, I actually heard when I was about 16 years old at a funeral. And it went like this. When someone gets pregnant in the family, there's excitement about a new baby. When they reach the 9th month, the first thing we do is start counting down the days to that due date. Then when she goes into labor, after talking to the doctor, usually we go to the hospital. Then when we get to the hospital, the next thing we do is pick up the telephone and call the immediate family members, the siblings, the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, the cousins, the best friends, everyone we want to get a hold of and tell them, the baby's coming, the baby's coming. And those family members who are able to want to get to the hospital before COVID, of course, as soon as they can, to see that new life. You've all watched it in the movies if you haven't done it in person, right? Looking through that window at the nursery. What's the first thing that baby does when the baby's born? Cries, right? What's everybody else doing? They're smiling from ear to ear with joy about that new life. Isn't it ironic yet beautiful? When God comes to us and tells us it's our time, he gives every person a lucid moment, a moment of realization. And in Rosa's case, boy, was this true. And we realize that we've been surrounded with that love of our family all through our lives to the very last moment. And then the Sha'arei Shamayim, the gates of heaven, open up. And there are those who have gone before us, waiting to greet us and welcome us into the next world. There were her parents right there. And so, when we have the opportunity to realize that we've been surrounded with that love to the very end, and that brings a smile to our face, as I know it did with her. And then we're about to be reunited with those who have been separated from us for so long. It brings a smile to our face. Yet what is everybody else doing at that time? Crying. That's the full circle of life that we all experience. And I pray that in your lives, each of you, you should experience more smiles than tears. And I know that's what Rose would want. Speaking of Bashirts, just want to say that it's Bashirt that I'm here with this family. It was Bashirt that I was at B'nai Torah when the girls were growing up, Mark's girls. It was Bashirt when one of my dear friends married Mark. And it was Bashirt that when Jack shows special care for Rose, and he chose a place that I was involved with, and I get to be here today as Bashirt. And what a great honor and privilege it is to know this woman and spend her last weeks with her and talk to her and get to know her after not seeing her since bat mitzvahs many, many years ago. And her legacy will live on from generation to generation. Mark.
I hadn't really prepared anything, but I wanted to share something with everybody, especially with Mom. My mother's life was an arc. It began in poverty and sort of darkness. And time went by through her will, through joining up with my father, she crawled her way out of that and had the opportunity to live a very large, expansive life. And in that time, she had many, many experiences and did many, many things. And I always remember that I would tell my mother about things that happened to me or things I did. And she would always have something to say in return that would sort of say, well, geez, who hasn't? And it almost became a point of things. I would always tell her this or ask her that. As my cousin Don said earlier, my mom was very intelligent, probably more so than she even realized. She always had something to say, and always could tell me something. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, Marcia has a stepbrother that was the personal photographer for John Bon Jovi. And John Bon Jovi's tour was coming through Chicago. And he invited us to come, and before the concert, on the day of the concert, come, and we could go backstage, and we could meet people, and go in dressing rooms. And he had access to everything. We got to go out onto the stage of the United Center. It was empty, but set up for the rock concert, and walk out. No one was there, but it was expansive. It was pretty interesting. So following that experience, I went to my mother and told her, I said, Mom, we did this, and we went backstage, and we got out on the stage, and we saw the guitar people, and we met some band, and I said, some rock guy, you wouldn't know who it is, some guy named John Bon Jovi. And Mom turned to me and said, I've been to his house. At that moment in time, I knew it was done. There was no point in ever trying to outdo me. And like most families, our family especially, stories. Everything was stories. For my whole life, I remember going to my aunt's house, my grandmother, cousins. There was always stories, and it was hard to get a word in edgewise. So that was one of the stories. And I know that everybody has stories of Mom, Grammy, Gigi, Auntie. And Mom, you may be gone in some respects, but you'll never be forgotten. I love you.
Also didn't prepare anything, but for those of you who did recognize me. Anyways, there's a few things I wanted to say. A lot has already been said about the wonderful qualities and attributes. Well, she was fantastic at whatever she tried to do. And the talent was just amazing, and I don't think she even appreciated her own level of talent. But she had a great life. Started off difficult, but they were able to build a wonderful life together, Dad and Mom. To see joy, to have things that most people never get to experience in this world. And it was wonderful. One of the things that's kind of helped me process what's going on is to know that it was a wonderful life there. unfortunately, life can be cruel sometimes, and they were cruel to Mom. All the abilities begin to fade away as her health declined, as her eyesight went away. And it became a very much difficult existence. And I am comforted by the fact that she's freed from this suffering. That she had a terrific life, she had opportunities to have not just the immediate family, we can talk about that, but wonderful daughters-in-law, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. As the rabbi said, that's a gift from God. And all to be, I think, appreciated. And I think this is a gift from God as well. She's released from her suffering. We're all sad. It's going to be difficult. But I'm certain she's in a better place. So I'm going to miss you. I'm so happy that you don't have to suffer.
Well, I guess I didn't have a choice. It was not be the brother that didn't say anything. But what comes to my mind, what my mom taught me most in life, has been my greatest lesson in life, is family. No matter what kind of arguments or disagreements any of us were in with Mom, with each other, Mom and Dad, that did not last over the family. That whatever that disagreement was, the family had to remain together and stay together and stay in touch with each other. And I've learned that and taken that forward to hopefully taught my children that very, very valuable lesson. My mom, even for the time we went to school, got a call once a week, or else. Never wanted to find out what the or else was. But it was a lesson. Or, you know, you might be upset at your brother, but he's your brother. And you only have two brothers. And forgive and forget and love. And that was her, you know, last night we were going through words, one words, and I came up with the word charitable. And in the discussion, some people said, well, what was she charitable? Why was she charitable? Who was she charitable? And what I meant was, she was generous. Her generosity and love to her family was beyond description. There wasn't a moment that she would not forget somebody's birthday, somebody's anniversary. She would always, always remember and recognize it as something. And that's what I love so much about my mother and what she taught me. And she would be missed. But it's not the end. Just another stage of our relationship with her. And now it's the memories that will keep us in our minds with her. Love you. Thank you. Love you all.
so we're going to bid farewell in a moment, and the service is going to continue, and then after the gentleman place her in her final resting place, we will do the conclusion of the service in a few minutes. Martin, do you have the earth? Pray the earth, please. Thank you, sir. As we send her off with this earth from the Mount of Olives Cemetery in Jerusalem. This earth is our reminder of our Jewish faith in the Messianic era, that if separations are only temporary, we will all be reunited. We're going to ask everyone here to please walk up the stairs. The gentlemen are going to need to bring the casket out and around in just a moment. So while we are gathered over here, you can sit, Jack, please sit. While we're gathered around, I thought some words of blessing while the mitzvah that is being done. To share these words as a blessing from the book of Proverbs.
Anyone who would like to witness the casket being placed in the
Eternal God, our Creator, with the gift of your Spirit, we are one who take it to return. We thank you for the many blessings in Rose's life. We turn to you now, dear God, seeking comfort and light, Lord, of compassion, grant us all solace and strength, and reinforce our faith for you, our God and Redeemer. Hashem Nasam, Yishem Hashem Barah. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. We praise his name. Amen. Other cultures, often when they suffer a loss, they make scars on themselves or tattoos or things like that. In Judaism, the Torah, our tradition of the Bible, we use words for components. It's a sign of our loss. When it's for a parent, we put it on our left side, and the other relative, we put it on our right side. We know we place it correctly. Now, when we're clear, I'm going to ask you, all three of you and your dad, to make a little tear at the bottom to get it started. So when we say the blessing, it'll be easy to tear up. Repeat after me the blessing, and then after we say the blessing, we'll tear it up like so very obvious. Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Elohim, Melech, Ha'olam, Dayan, Ha'emet. Everyone's answers, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat, we don't observe Shabbat, it counts as one of the days. So Friday, about 2 hours before Shabbat, you take it off. So about 3 o'clock, you take it off. On Saturday night, after 7:30, well, after Shabbat's over, you put it back on. You wear it till Wednesday, which is the 7th day. However, Shabbat ends on the 7th day after 1 hour. So after you're wearing your kriya for 1 hour on Wednesday, you take it off. It's the end of the Shiva period. It's traditional to walk outside into the public way. If it's really nice weather, people walk around the block. If not, you just walk to the street and back. And that fulfills going out in public without your kriya as a sign of Shiva. For your dad, there's only a 30-day mourning period. For the children, it's a whole year, 11 months whenever you can say Kaddish, anytime. And then the last one will be for the Yortzeit, for Purim. That's Purim. The night of Purim, the light of the Yortzeit. Okay? At this time now, I'm going to recite the memorial prayer, which is going to be followed by the Morris Kaddish. The Morris Kaddish is on the back of your folder in a moment.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Now to Mark, Jeffrey, and David, and to Jack, I say these words which have been recited to Jewish mourners in Shiva for centuries. Amakom, Menachem, Etchen, Betosh, Shahar, Abele, Sion, Yerushalayim. May you all be comforted among all mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. May only know good health and no more sorrow for many, many years to come. Amen. To you, my dear friends, who conclude this service, first of all, I want to thank Bill and his memorial. I want to thank Sherry and everyone here, Shalom and gentlemen, for doing everything properly for us today. And I pray, and I mean this with my whole heart, because you know you're my dear friends, that we share a simcha together very soon. And no